The story begins in a house where a man and a woman start arguing. It seems that the woman is blackmailing this man, but suddenly a man strikes her in the head, killing her instantly. The story kicks off in Lee Tang's home. Tang, just a regular college student discharged from the military 6 months ago, finds himself amidst the hustle and bustle of his sister Yang's upcoming wedding. Family members express their worries about Tang's seemingly uneventful post-military life. However, he shares his plan to embark on a working holiday in Canada, injecting a hint of excitement into his future endeavors. Back in college, Tang chats with his buddies Jiang Huan and Miyang. He spills the beans about how life has been a bit dull since high school, craving some excitement. At home, Tang dives into videos showcasing the beauty of Canada. His apartment, though, is a bit of a mess. Then he unwraps a surprise package, a framed picture of the stunning Rocky Mountains. Excited to hang it on his wall, he faces a small hiccup. He can't seem to drive a nail into the wall. Later, Tang shows up at a convenience store for his part-time shift. As the clock ticks, a somewhat inebriated customer stumbles in requesting cigarettes. This individual attempts to place a food order as if the store were a restaurant, but his companion takes a more amiable approach towards Tang. The companion ends up buying the food, and the duo enjoys their meal before making their exit. As closing time approaches, Tang's boss arrives and instructs him to call it a day. Seizing the opportunity, Tang tries to ask if he can borrow a hammer to hang up the photograph, but his words go unheard by the boss. Undeterred, Tang decides to take the hammer with him anyway. Heading home, Tang stumbles upon the same intoxicated man from earlier, now unconscious on the street. Spotting the companion nearby, he attempts to inform him about his inebriated friend. However, the companion dismisses it, assuring Tang that everything is fine. Despite this, Tang persists, and the situation takes a turn for the worse as the companion starts physically assaulting him. In a sudden flashback, glimpses of Tang and Jiang Huang being bullied by fellow students during their high school days resurface, shedding light on the roots of Tang's resilience in the face of adversity. In a reflective narration, Tang confesses that he has never retaliated physically before. The unfolding scene reveals Tang retrieving the hammer from his bag and striking the aggressive man, who crumples to the ground and tragically succumbs to his injuries. Concern etches across Tang's face, prompting him to conceal himself as other passers-by stroll along the street. Among them is a blind woman accompanied by her guide dog named Rex. Oblivious to Tang's presence, she continues on her way, unintentionally bypassing the unfolding aftermath. Back at home, Tang hastily cleans the blood from his body in the shower, the weight of recent events pressing heavily on him. As the water rushes over him, he begins to hallucinate, envisioning the deceased man lamenting the impact of his demise on his family. Later that night, Jiang Huan visits Tang's house in an inebriated state, having indulged in a night out. Tang, grappling with his thoughts, raises the topic of their high school tormentors. To his surprise, Jiang Huan reveals that the bullies from their past are, in fact, flourishing in their respective lives. The revelation leaves Tang pondering the complex twists life takes. Tang shares a story from his past when he cheated on his girlfriend. He thought he would get caught, but he never did. This wasn't the only time he escaped consequences. He also managed to steal Jiang Huan's tablet in high school without getting caught. It seems like Tang has a talent for getting away with things, whether by luck or some mysterious ability. Right now, Tang realizes he dropped the hammer on the street, the only thing connecting him to the incident. The next morning, Detective Jan Nangam and his colleague Yong Jae examine the bodies of the drunk man and Tang's friend, Kim Myong-jin. Meanwhile, Jiang Huan leaves Tang's house in a hurry. Tang, on the other hand, gets called in to work at the store because a coworker called in sick for her shift. The unfolding events continue to add a layer of mystery to Tang's life. Nangam steps into the convenience store and inquires about its security cameras from the owner. Later, two young boys find themselves in a bind with Nangam, leading to their transportation to the police station. At the station, the boys receive a warning. As the detectives review the security footage, a perplexing question arises: how did the bodies end up in separate locations? The mystery deepens as the investigation unfolds. Reviewing the security footage, Nangam identifies the drunk man purchasing items from Tang. Consequently, when Tang arrives at the shop, Nangam is ready to question him. Nangam queries if Tang remembers the two men. Just as Tang is on the verge of responding, Yongjae interjects, stating that a witness observed the men engaged in a physical altercation. The plot thickens as the interrogation takes an unexpected turn. With more test results, the detectives come to a surprising conclusion: the two men might have killed each other. In a twist, it's revealed that when Nangam watched the security footage, a fly conveniently blocked the camera exactly when Tang picked up the hammer. This unexpected detail adds more mystery to the situation. The intoxicated man's wife provides her account to the police. According to her testimony, her husband frequently brought Myong-jin, a colleague, to their home. She describes Myung-jin as friendly and thoughtful, and their relationship evolved into an affair with plans for marriage in the works. However, Nangam remains skeptical about Myung-jin's existence as he fails to uncover any records on him. Moreover, Nangam is convinced that he has encountered this mysterious man before, deepening the intrigue surrounding the unfolding events. Nangam comes back to the store to buy chewing gum. While there, he advises Tang about the possible effects of trauma. He also shares his sympathy, mentioning that he went through similar mistreatment due to having an uncommon name, just like Tang. This shared experience creates a connection between them, highlighting the challenges they've both faced. Later, Jae-hwan shows up, mentioning he's been trying to call Tang. He reveals they were both questioned by a detective about Tang. The two friends decide to go out for a drink. The next day brings a surprising revelation: Kim Myung-jin's identity is fake. His real name was Yeo Buael, a suspect in a 2009 serial murder case uncovered through DNA analysis. Tang, upon learning this, appears relieved. During an intimate moment with a woman, he hallucinates Buael again. This time, he boldly confronts the man about his crimes, believing he played a role in putting an end to Buael's malevolent deeds. The story then shifts to a blind woman playing with her dog. Inside her house, the hammer Tang used sits on a table, adding another layer to the unfolding events. Tang is being pursued by a dog while carrying the hammer in his bag. He awakens, questioning if it was just a dream. Tang then heads to his parents' house, where his mother urges him to join her at church. As he disposes of some trash, an alarming sight awaits him: the severed head of the deceased man lying in the bin. Nangam visits a flower shop, but the shopkeeper appears more engrossed in a phone call than assisting him. Undeterred, he goes to another store, seeking a juice gift box. However, upon discovering it's missing 2 bottles, he discards it. These errands seem to be intended for his father, a former police officer now unconscious in bed. Upon returning home, Nangam faces criticism from his mother for not bringing flowers. Tang's mother notices his weight loss and expresses concern about him missing classes. Before she can elaborate, one of her friends interrupts. They all proceed to the church, where Tang's mother shares a heartfelt sentiment. She encourages him to go abroad if he wishes, assuring him that neither she nor his father would be a burden. As a symbolic gesture, she hands him a lottery ticket, perhaps holding hopes for a brighter future for her son. At the police station, there's growing pressure on the cops for not apprehending Buael before his demise. The captain intervenes, taking Nangam aside and instructing him to cease fixating on that guy. It becomes evident that Nangam has been pursuing a suspect with a background as a former police officer. Tang acquires a new phone before heading to the store for his shift. The woman part-time expresses dissatisfaction with the welcome message on the main door. Amidst his duties, the blind woman from earlier appears, making an unexpected demand for 2 million won. It's revealed that she isn't completely blind and is aware that Tang was involved in a person's death. She hints at possessing the hammer, introducing a new layer of suspense. At the university, Jae-hwan and Mi-young converse about Tang seeking financial assistance from both of them. Tang goes to the extent of attempting to sell his new phone, but the endeavor proves unsuccessful. Desperate, he asks the store's owner for an advance on his salary, but due to a previous bad experience, the owner declines. However, later, Tang receives a surprising text from his boss, indicating that he has been paid after all. Despite this, the funds are still insufficient. In a drastic move, Tang resorts to taking his house savings account details from his parents and liquidating the entire account. The financial struggle intensifies for Tang. Jae-hwan and Mi-young keep calling Tang, but he doesn't answer. Tang is at the store, carrying a bag with all the cash. The owner mentions seeing the blind woman, prompting Tang to rush out and find a cigarette box she bought, showing a time and address. At the police station, the captain scolds Nangam, saying he's chasing the man for personal reasons related to his father. Nangam defends himself, saying he's just doing his job. The following day at noon, Tang heads to the woman's house. She casually prepares coffee and engages in conversation with Tang, who remains silent. As Tang takes out the cash, he is taken aback when she clarifies that she means 2 million won per month. To his surprise, she unveils the hammer, stating that she wouldn't jeopardize becoming an accomplice for such a small amount. Feeling compelled, Tang leaves the money, takes the hammer, and exits. However, the woman drops a comment suggesting she knows extensive details about Tang's family, prompting him to return. She asserts that even without the hammer, the police can easily apprehend him, injecting a sense of vulnerability and raising the stakes for Tang. In a disturbing moment, Tang imagines himself charging at the woman like a dog wearing a leash. In reality, he attacks her with a hammer, causing her death. Tang quickly grabs his things and runs out, leaving a bloody mark on her front door. Later on, as milk packages pile up at the woman's door, a delivery man checks on her. Soon, police tape surrounds the area and Nangam and Yongjae investigate. Unfortunately, the woman's body is severely damaged, likely due to her dog Rex. The commotion caused by Rex in the garden reveals a startling discovery: a skull buried in the soil. In the police meeting, they discover 2 skeletons in the woman's garden. Back at home, Tang senses Yeo-ok's presence and reflects on how he killed someone quite easily. Oddly, he realizes he's been indoors for 4 days without much food and wonders why the police haven't come for him despite numerous missed calls on his phone. Surprisingly, the police find out the dog licked everything Tang touched in the house, removing any fingerprints or DNA. This leads to a discussion about the dog's fate, debating whether he should be put down. The unexpected twist complicates Tang's situation even more. During this time, a deeply troubled Tang attempts to take his own life but is unsuccessful. Jiang Huan, concerned about his friend, visits and deceives Tang into opening the door. A heated argument ensues, with Tang revealing that he was the one who stole Jiang Huan's tablet. Jiang Huan, surprising Tang, admits that he had always known about it. Following that incident, Tang's behavior takes a positive turn, leaving Jiang Huan perplexed about whether Tang is inherently good or bad. At the police station, one of Nangam's colleagues is convinced that someone else was at Yeo-ok's house on that day, but there is no concrete evidence to support this suspicion. Later, the decision is made for the dog to be euthanized and the colleague is tasked with taking him to the pound. On the way, the dog shows a strong desire to enter a karaoke establishment where Tang is currently brooding in one of the rooms. Tang, still avoiding work, finds out that his boss has filed a police complaint against him. The 2 young boys from the first episode reappear. Spotting the policeman walking with the dog, they decide to play a prank on him. Running up to him, one of the boys stabs him with a broken bottle. Meanwhile, Tang emerges from the karaoke joint and learns shocking news about Yeo-ok. She murdered her parents. The 2 boys, still wandering the streets, realize they've lost their wallets. Spotting Tang walking, they decide to mess with him this time. As they approach, Tang experiences goosebumps on the back of his neck, a sensation that occurred the last 2 times he was involved in a murder. The following scene reveals 2 lifeless bodies lying in a dump. The detective arrives at the scene in the morning. Meanwhile, Tang awakens at home and is horrified to discover he's covered in blood. Alongside his hammer, there's now a bloody brick accompanied by a small note. Tang recollects that someone brought him home, but he is unsure of his identity. The note encourages Tang to seek assistance if needed, providing a link to a Telegram group named Only for Heroes. The mysterious note adds a layer of intrigue and raises questions about Tang's involvement in the recent events. A flashback shows a younger Yeo-ok hanging out with her friends when she lights a cigarette. But there's a gas leak and the place explodes, leading to her losing an eye and getting burnt marks. We then see an adult Yeo-ok using a pipe to send gas into her parents' room. Her mother wakes up, ruining her plans, and Yeo-ok grabs a knife. She had signed her parents up for 8 life insurance policies. Somebody narrates a story about Yeo-ok, claiming that her death can't erase her crimes. Nangam reads the whole thing on a social media post. He and Youngjae meet the woman who wrote it, a cousin of Yeo-ok. The cousin claims that Yeo-ok poured boiling water on her face in school and she had no reason to do so, she just enjoyed it. At the police station, Chung-jin is being congratulated for coming back to work. He describes the stabbing and then asks about the 2 boys who were killed. Chung-jin speaks to the captain and tells him he wants to quit his job and make sashimi instead. Nangam and Youngjae go to one of the high school boys' funerals. Nangam asks the mother about his attacks on Chung-jin, but she slaps Nangam. Youngjae wonders if he was too harsh. On their way back, Nangam tells Youngjae a story about a case he had worked on. A girl named Kang Yun-seo committed suicide after she was raped by 2 boys. At her funeral, the boy's mother strode in and made a scene, claiming it was all consensual. Nangam reveals that the woman is the boy's mother they just met. Her son was the rapist. He says people aren't just assailants or victims, they can be both. The boy then went on to commit more assaults and thefts, which is exactly why Nangam targeted him and his friend in previous incident. Nangam speaks to the convenience store owner and learns that Yeo-ok had been standing on the street nearby around 10 o'clock. The detective asks about Lee Tang and the owner gets angry because he took his money. He then mentions that Tang saw the woman as well. At home, Tang connects with the Only for Heroes Telegram user. When the latter reveals he knows Tang's name, Tang gets scared and blocks him. A postman then comes to his door, giving him an attendance notice for his court case about his stealing money from his boss. Nangam speaks to Chung-jin and tries to convince him not to quit. He refuses and goes home, where his wife tells him Nangam gifted their son a bike. Nangam then meets the detective in charge of Tang's financial fraud case. Youngjae visits the house of the girl from Nangam's story. Yun-seo's father, Sang-mook, suddenly confesses to killing the boys that raped her. Meanwhile, Tang has now decided to turn himself in. He calls the detective in charge of the financial fraud case and tells him so. The other, misunderstanding Tang's purpose, tells him to come by 9 p.m. Tang keeps some money aside for his mother and for the convenience store, packs all the evidence of his murders into a bag, and leaves the house. Sang-mook gives his statement, saying he killed the boys with a brick but doesn't remember what he did with it afterward. Naturally, Nangam isn't convinced. He enters the interrogation room and exposes the man for his lies. He doesn't smoke, but the victims had cigarette burns. Also, he's left-handed while the killer used his right. Nangam's supervisor is annoyed about the turn of events, but Nangam convinces him. He then gets a message from the other detective who informs him about Lee Tang. Yongjae apologizes for being rash. He then says he informed the high school boy's mother that they had a suspect. He asks if that could be a problem. A flashback shows Sang-mook received a knife in a package at his house. He then very much did leave, intending to kill the boys. He was messaging with the same person who contacted Tang, only for heroes. The person tells him to do what they practiced. At present, the man gets hit by a car right outside the police station. It's the high schooler's mother driving it. Meanwhile, Tang deposits his cash into an ATM. Two men on a bike steal his bag and race away. When they don't find much cash inside, they throw it away along with all the evidence of Tang's murders. Tang himself is in an ambulance and is taken to a hospital since he hurt his arm when he fell over. Sang-mook is in a hospital bed himself. Nangam questions him, asking why he's trying to frame himself and protect the real killer. After he leaves, Sang-mook gets another text from Only for Heroes. He sees Tang walking out with a bandaged arm and follows, but his wheelchair falls over. Tang hears the noise and comes back. Sang-mook tells him to go away since the police are in the building. Tang realizes that the man knows who he is and tries to find out more, but Sang-mook tells him they'll connect on Telegram. Tang rushes away, but unfortunately Nangam sees him and follows. Sang-mook watches videos of his daughter and thinks about his memories with her. He then takes a handful of his sleeping pills together. A flashback shows Sang-mook watching Tang fight the two boys and smash their heads with a brick, but he seemingly passes out after doing so. Just as Nangam is following Tang, he's called back to the hospital because of Sang-mook. Tang opens his telegram to see that the account has been deleted. He then recalls that two people carried him home, not just one. Later, Tang's sister and mother inevitably come looking for him at his apartment. But the place seems to be cleared out. A flashback shows Sang-mook drinking with someone, talking about how Yun Seo didn't die immediately. She suffered in the hospital for hours before she did. Sang-mook admits he wants to kill the men who did this to her. The person sitting across from him, a younger man, tells him that he can do something about it. He's wearing a Batman hoodie. A group of colleagues are out for a team dinner. The boss, Prosecutor G, gives the others his card and heads home. He's called for a driver and assumes it is the man who is waiting by his car. The man is wearing a hoodie that says Only for Heroes. Halfway through, the man wakes up with a call from the real driver. He realizes he's going the wrong way. Lights flash inside the car and we then see a body floating down a river. Meanwhile, Yang comes over to see the convenience store owner. The owner withdraws his complaint against Tang and we learn that Tang's family paid him the money he was owed. Chung Jin officially retires from the police station. A special investigations unit has been created for the murders. 4 months later, they have nothing. Nangam claims it was all for show. The unit leader, a woman, overhears him and they argue. Nangam believes all the murders were the work of one person while the woman says they're not. Elsewhere, in a room filled with superhero merchandise, a young man discusses a murder case online. His name is Robin and he seems to be a profiler. Nangam visits him and shows him the details of several murder cases, then surmises that there is a possibility it's a serial killer. Nangam has his colleague listening in on their whole conversation. When Bin accidentally reveals he hacked into the prosecutor's network, Nangam tells his colleague to get Bin to the station. At the station, Nangam convinces his captain to let him deal with Bin since he would definitely know something. Ultimately, with no evidence, they let Robin go, but it seems to be a part of Nangam's plan. While driving Bin home, Nangam talks about how they don't have any leads and tells the latter to share what he finds. Later, while eating at the convenience store, Nangam sees Rex, Yeook's dog. Nangam follows him to Yeook's house. Somebody comes to Robin's house to deliver food and it turns out to be Tang. They seem to be working together and Bin tells him to be careful. Outside, Nangam's colleague stops Tang and asks which apartment he's delivering to. In a car nearby, Nangam tells Yongjae that Robin used to work for the murderer that Nangam was after. They don't see Tang talking to the other cop. The colleague then enters the car and tells Nangam that the delivery guy said he's never seen Robin's face. Since Nangam was at Bin's house when he opened the door to accept his food delivery, he knows it's a lie. He tells the other cops to go after the delivery man immediately. Yongjae and the other cop chase Lee Tang while Nangam storms into Robin's house. He demands to know if Bin has been picking out the victims for Tang and pressures him to reveal where Lee Tang is. Yongjae brings in the delivery man, but he's got the wrong person. The captain then calls Nangam and starts yelling at him. Turns out, Robin has cameras set up in his apartment and videos of Nangam beating him were sent out all over the internet. The captain is pissed, to say the least. More policemen have turned up at Bin's door. A flashback to 4 months ago begins. Tang packs his bags and leaves with a letter to his family saying he's gone to Canada without saying goodbye. He promises to come back as a better person, but he ends up sleeping at the railway station. He looks for Only for Heroes online but can't find anything. He spends his time on the train, and one day Robin approaches him, introducing himself as Only for Heroes. Robin takes Tang home and suggests they work together. He claims to be a sidekick like Watson or Robin, which is why he legally changed his name to Robin. He knows all about the murders Tang committed. He even knows about Tang's intriguing superpower, that the people he kills deserve to die and all the evidence of his crimes simply disappears. Robin offers him money and says they can serve justice together. The next morning, Robin and Tang discuss his powers. Bin says he had 2 partners before Tang. He says Tang has met one and the other is a person he doesn't want to meet again. The first turns out to be Buael. Bin tells Tang to check behind a shelf where he finds a hidden room filled with weapons and files as well as a jacket that says Only for Heroes. Tang dons the jacket and walks on the street until he coincidentally bumps into Prosecutor G. He feels the urge to kill and then poses as his driver. Later, he has the prosecutor tied up and tries to find out what crimes he's committed. Bin arrives and taps into G's phone where they find videos that prove the prosecutor sexually assaulted women. This is enough evidence for Tang, who stabs G with no remorse. Both the men watch his body float away. Over time, Tang commits more murders and becomes confident in his ability to root out the bad guys. He even builds his physical strength so he can take people on easily. At present, Nangam and his entire team get a massive telling off. His captain gets into a fight and both he and Nangam are laid off. At the Chinese restaurant where Tang works, a cop named Song Chan asks about Lee Tang. A young woman named Jiang's sex tape was leaked, resulting in a scandal that forced her to move cities. Meanwhile, Robin makes a fake ID for Tang with a new name, Lee Jiangsu. He's now based in Busan, and his most recent kill was a professor who slept with a student and then killed her when she became pregnant. A narration from Bin claims that Tang's deeds are the essence of pure good. Tang, meanwhile, is working at a supermarket in the fish section. At present, his colleagues talk about a female employee, Jiang. The young woman is told to work at the cash counter. She does so but seems to be wary of men in particular. A woman picks a fight with her while trying to ask for a refund. Afterwards, the woman goes out to her car to see Tang smoking nearby. He exposes her for stealing the product that she claimed to want a refund for. Jiang watches Tang talking to her. Later, she has a smoke with Tang and says they're both similar in that they're running away from their past. Sometime later, Jiang picks up her mother at the train station. We learn that she got plastic surgery so she wouldn't be recognized. Her mother tells her to visit home sometime. Chungjin visits Nangam and is surprised to see Rex at his house. Nangam days he's keeping Rex till the charges against him are dropped. Bin even has a restraining order against Nangam. A frustrated Yongjae comes over as well and tells Nangam off for not keeping him in the loop regarding the Robin case. Yongjae tells Nangam that while working on another case, he spotted footage of Tang going to Busan. They discuss the murders in Busan and Nangam makes a suggestion. Together, they go to Tang's family and suggest they report him missing. Yang sees through the act though and tells Nangam to tell them the truth. They do, but the 3 family members find it hard to believe that Tang would be responsible for murder. While having dinner with her mother, Jiang gets angry at a man for staring at her. But it's not because of the sex video, rather he recognized her from elementary school when she went by another name. They chat for a while and the man says he had written about her in his journal as a child, which he found recently. When he tries to take her phone number, she gently refuses. Yang and Tang's mother come to the police station and register the missing person complaint. This helps Nangam and Yongjae officially go to Busan to look for Tang. The Busan detectives don't seem to think Tang could be the culprit of the professor's murder. Nangam asks for information on other unaccounted deaths. Meanwhile, Tang hallucinates Prosecutor G, who taunts him about being able to evade the police only for so long. It turns out to be a dream. He wakes up and is about to enter the elevator when he gets goosebumps on his neck again. He runs back out. Jiang is at work when she gets a call from her schoolmate she met earlier, Sangmin. He says a sex tape of him also got leaked and he was extorted for it. They meet and Sangmin admits he got her number from a cop. Being in a similar situation, he didn't know who else to go to. His parents don't want to do anything with him and his girlfriend broke up with him. Jiang-a allows him to stay over. When he's in the washroom alone, we see him smiling to himself. At night, Jiang-a asks him if he wants to share the bed. Of course, he's lying and is on perfectly good terms with his girlfriend. He makes an excuse to visit Busan again. When he's near the supermarket, Tang overhears him talking to his girlfriend on the phone. Jiang-a continues to spend time with Sangmin. While cleaning the bathroom, Tang hallucinates himself holding a knife instead of a water spray. His reflection suddenly attacks him. At home, Jiang-a is happy in Sangmin's arms, so much so that she suggests coming back to Seoul. But she's quick on the uptake and checks his phone to find a video with his wedding invitation. The truth is that Sangmin got Jiang-a's phone number from the empty delivery packages outside her house. He was only interested in Jiang-a because of the sex video. At present, they get into a fight and Sangmin pushes Jiang-a down, choking her, and she soon dies. Later, Nangam and Tang both separately see the news of a massive fire in Jiang-a's building. In a shop, a couple of people discuss how Jiang-a didn't die of the fire but was murdered. Song Chan is in the shop and laughs at this. Nangam tries to push the investigation into Jiang-a's murder, but the Busan detectives insist on doing things slowly. At work, Tang learns that Jiang-a died and seems shocked to learn about it. He then notices Song Chan in the market following him. Tang tries to run away, but Nangam enters through the front door. He rushes to the back of the store where Song Chan is waiting for him. Tang's neck tingles and he realizes this man has killed many people. By the time Nangam gets there, both have disappeared. He then asks the employers for Tang's address. Meanwhile, Sangmin has been diagnosed with gonorrhea. He speaks to his girlfriend, who also has it, and confesses to cheating on him. He goes home to see Song Chan waiting by his front door. Chan interrogates him like a regular cop. When he realizes that Sangmin did kill her, he starts pulling out the tape and other equipment from his bag. Tang is now on the run. He calls Robin and says something feels different this time, then tells him to lay low and keep his phone off. Chan tells Sangmin about Tang and how he's been looking for him. He's hoping Tang is looking for Sangmin at this very moment. Sangmin ends up writing a confessional note about the murder. Chan kills him and then cleans the place up. He sets the apartment on fire before leaving. Nangam and a Busan detective go to Tang's house. Around the same time, Yongjae and the other cop go to Sangmin's. They even see Chan leaving. Nangam opens the door to see Tang's house filled with smoke while Sangmin's kitchen explodes, hitting Yongjae, who is right at the front door. Tang is about to enter the elevator and his neck prickles when he sees the man inside. After he walks away, the man gets offended at being ignored and breaks into Tang's apartment, blowing a fire extinguisher all over the place. At present, he's in police custody being interrogated by Nangam and a Busan detective. We then see Song Kam remove the glove from his hand, revealing completely black fingertips. He puts an ointment on his skin while talking to cats about ridding the world of bad people. Yongjae, who's in the hospital, calls Nangam and expressed his frustration with the situation. He then mentions seeing Song Chan outside Sangmin's apartment. Nangam orders him to rest and take care of his health. He's currently at the hospital where his father is admitted. His mother berates him for taking calls at a time like this. The doctor tells them to take a call about whether to put his father on life-sustaining support or not, which would reduce his quality of life. Tang is on a train when he notices a man groping the girl next to him. She makes a scene, but Tang doesn't stand up for her even though he sees what happened. Afterwards, he goes to play games at a cyber cafe just like he used to when he was younger and avoiding his studies. Robin comes home to find Song Chan already inside. Song Chan is the one Bin was working with before. He wants to meet Tang, but Bin says he's gone off-grid. Chan tells him to set up a meeting when he does find him. He then takes a copy of Crime and Punishment from Bin's safe, which seems to have some significance. As he's leaving, Bin tries to attack Chan, but naturally he fails. At the cyber cafe, Tang's neck prickles when another man sits next to him, but he decides against doing anything about it and leaves. Yongjae disregards Nangam's advice and comes to Robin's house. He comes across Chan, who's leaving, and the two engage in a fight. Chan throws the latter outside the window. Robin turns up at the police station and says he'll only speak to Nangam. He tells the detective about Chan, blaming him for the gas explosion in Busan as well. Chan is in a car, stuck in traffic when he notices a young man and his girlfriend being rude to a taxi driver. Robin agrees to tell Nangam everything if he helps deal with Chan once. Nangam refuses to work with him. On a building rooftop, Chan berates the young couple from earlier. The man seems to be dead while the woman begs for her life, prompting Chan to change his mind at the last minute. Tang, meanwhile, has a nightmare about Chan. He wakes up to the news of a man named Lee who has committed murder and is on the run. It's the same man from the cyber cafe. Back on the rooftop, Chan leaves with a confession note written in blood. The new police captain visits Nangam since he knows the most about Song Chan. He brings out Robin's documents as well as details about a case in Mopco the young couple Chan killed. The girl was the granddaughter of the chairman of Bayan Construction, a big company. A promotion awaits whoever solves the case. The captain tells Nangam to come back to work the next day. Meanwhile, Bin approaches Bayan Construction himself to help them catch Chan. He then gets a call from Tang, who wants to know more about Chan. Initially, Bin made the same offer to Chan that he made Tang, but he realized Chan was different and sadistic for no reason. Tang tells Bin to set up a meeting. Chan, who's going through his collection of confession notes from his victims, gets a message that Tang wants to meet him too. Chan video calls Tang and gives him directions to a coffee shop. In another building, Bin is waiting with the men from Bayan Construction who wants to get hold of Chan, but he sees Tang's location is moving elsewhere and tells the men they need to follow. He tries to call Tang, but the latter doesn't pick up. Tang finds Chan waiting for him inside the rundown cafe. Chan asks Tang about his hunches. Bin and the other men arrive at the actual location. He tells them to head inside, but the others don't like him ordering them around. They turn on him instead and leave him tied up instead. Chan is fascinated by Tang's ability. Tang asks for his book, Crime and Punishment, back, but Chan says he isn't done with it. He also warns him against trusting Bin too much. Chan instead asks Tang to work with him so they can select the right people to kill. Chan claps a hand on Tang's shoulder as he leaves. Something shifts in Tang and he leaps out with a knife. But Chan easily stops him. He says Tang isn't a hero, just a murderer. Bayan Construction's men interrupt Chan, rounding up on him and allowing Tang to escape. He runs out and releases Bin as well. Bin says he kept the book, but not because he didn't trust Tang. He asks Tang to trust him once more. Tang tells Bin that he's scared. Just then, they hear a gunshot from above. Chan uses a blank shot in his gun to injure one of the men attacking him. The others soon follow, but he manages to fight them all off. He makes the last man standing to call his boss and say they lost Chan. A flashback shows Yongjae asking Nangam what led him to become a cop. He says his father was a cop and he became one so that he wasn't looked down on. His father never treated Nangam well. The day Nangam didn't react the way his father wanted was the day his father stopped bothering him. At the moment, Nangam takes Rex to a shelter. An aggression test will decide if he will be put down or not. Later, Nangam, the new Captain Moon Myong-jun, and the other cops look at security footage of the rundown cafe. They see Tang, Bin, and the Bayan Construction men. They also find footage of Chan. Cops head to the area where he was last seen and learn that the construction company's thugs were also looking for Chan. Chan watches the cops look for him from a nearby rooftop. The cops then look through the room he was staying in and find his collection of confession notes. Meanwhile, Tang is at a hideout looking exhausted. Robin comes to get him and says they should go south. They get into the car he hired and drive off. They buy a burner phone and Tang even stops by his parents' home. His mother has been going to the church's morning service quite often, praying for Tang. Chan then visits the Bayan Construction manager and demands to know where they can find Chairman Hyung. Nangam correctly assumes that Chan is going after the chairman. He convinces his colleagues to go to the chairman immediately. However, Chan is already there. The chairman has been tied up and the young girl with him makes a phone call telling the security to keep the chairman alone for an hour. Chan then gives the girl a drink that makes her pass out. A narration from Chan takes us through all the chairman's faults, his connections, and corruption. Tons of people died because of the chairman's constructions too. Nangam enters before Chan can make the chairman write his letter. Cho pushes a sharp screw into the chairman's artery while Nangam points his gun at him. Chan then recognizes Nangam. Chan used to work with his father, and this is the reason his father is comatose. He knew Nangam as a kid. Chan taunts Nangam, but he's not able to shoot. Chan suddenly pulls out the screw and everyone else rushes to try and save the chairman. Other cops stop Nangam from shooting Chan and arrest him instead. Afterward, Myong-jun tells Nangam that this case will get a lot of attention. As a token of gratitude, he's shifting Nangam's father to the police hospital. Bin and Tang are sleeping in their car when Bin tells Tang his story. A robber broke into his house and killed his parents. He realizes he needed the power to serve justice, but he was weak. So he looked for people like Tang. On his way to the police station, Chan throws a fit about the handcuffs being too tight. When one of the cops loosens it, he uses the opportunity to attack. The car turns over in the chaos, but Chan manages to escape. The chairman's funeral takes place while all this chaos is ensuing. An assemblyman speaks with Myong-jun and pressures the captain to make an arrest as soon as possible. Simultaneously, Nangam attends the funeral of his team member who was killed by Chan. Tang and Bin are having a meal when they hear of Chan's escape. To their surprise, the news says that Tang and Bin are accomplices. Tang's friends and family are all shocked to see the news. Tang is frustrated about the turn of events himself, and now Bin has a new plan. They will escape the country as stowaways on a ship. They meet with one of Bin's contacts who makes the arrangements. Chan is hiding somewhere too, nursing his hand which looks more wounded than ever. While at home, Nangam gets a call about his father. He's told that his mother signed the paper that allowed the hospital to not resuscitate his father. The decision is now on Nangam. He tells the nurse to continue the treatment and keep his father alive. Chan puts his phone inside a random truck which misleads the police. He then finds Bin's dentist and uses his phone to contact Bin. He tells Bin that they should meet since they are all accomplices. Bin doesn't tell Tang that Chan called. Instead, he gives him instructions to go to another destination, claiming they should travel separately. While Bin is looking for bus routes, Tang downloads a location tracker on his phone. Tang reaches the docks where his contact gives him a new passport. He then finds a letter in his bag from Bin. Bin approaches Chan instead and tells him he knows where Chan is. Nangam is not inclined to work with Bin. While he's wondering whether to work with Bin or not, Chan turns up at the hospital where Nangam's father is admitted. He gives Nangam's mother a bunch of pills which makes her pass out. Nangam then gets a call that leaves him shocked. We then see Rex, who mistakes a girl for Yeo-ok, starts attacking her. Chan is now on the tail of both Tang and Robin, but the pair have established a plan to flee the country. Chan murders Nangam's father, sending the detective on his quest for revenge. Robin tries to reason with Namgon and explain that all the people who Tang killed were serious criminals who deserved their fate. When Tamg arrives at a port to leave the country, he realizes that Robin isn't planning to come with him and will likely be killed or arrested. Tang rushes to find Robin, tracking him down at the abandoned factory where he was supposed to meet Chan. Tang, Robin, Chan, and Nangam meet at the factory and a fight breaks out. Robin is fatally shot by Chan and Nangam shoots Chan. As he lies dying, Chan explains the real story behind Nangam's father's accident. It is revealed that Nangam's father was a corrupt police officer, and when Chan, a young officer himself, found out, he beat him unconscious, leaving him permanently brain damaged. Nangam shoots Chan again in a rage, killing him, and as a fire starts in the factory, Robin and Chan's bodies are burned. Tang's book is also destroyed in the blaze. It is revealed to be a copy of Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Following the fire, Tang flees to Thailand for several months before being returned to Korea when the authorities find that he doesn't have a passport. It is revealed that Robin had helped to cover up all of the murders that Tang could have been charged with, even having his teeth filed to match the bite marks of a piece of half-eaten fruit left by Tang at one crime scene. Additionally, in the aftermath of the fire, an investigator speaks to Nangam about the evidence, stating that Robin is believed to be behind all the murders, but adding that there is still suspicion over Tang. Nangam doesn't support the theory, and Tang's file is marked non-indictment. In a flashback to the night of the factory fire, Tang shows that he is ready to die and holds Nangam's gun to his head, but the detective refuses to kill him, promising Tang that one day he will get caught. Back in the present, Nangam hears a news report about a man who has been found dead and that DNA has linked him to a series of murders. Nangam realizes that Tang is back in South Korea and is once again working as a vigilante. In the final scene, Tang bumps into a man on the street and his powers activate, alerting him to the fact that the man has done something for which he deserves to die.